The Revolt of 2137, written by my uncle, Gary Goldman, when he was 17 years old, some 50 years ago. The only story he ever wrote in his life, and a story he kept his whole life and saved and has miraculously found its way to me. The northern desert is cold and dry. Its flat surface is occasionally covered with the snow that's dryness gives it the consistency of powdered sugar. A land that's frozen tundra awards only mosses, lichens, and the wind. Defensed against habitation by its lack of resources and bitter weather, once this fortress of bleakness was visited. A man sought it for its solitude, for a secret refuge. He buried a small box in the frozen earth and leaves. Years, then centuries passed. The land remains virgin. Finally, the invaders come. Men and machines arrive, bringing the parts of an entire city that they will assemble in a single day. A machine covers the ground over the box, its purpose the erection of a building. The edifice is made in 4 phases. The first digs the foundation. The next one sifts the soil of debris and rock. The third phase filters the dirt into wall, ceiling, and floor molds to which a liquid catalyst is added. A heat ray solidifies the molds to rock hardness. The last phase erects the molds in their proper positions and joins them together, also with the use of a heat ray. During the second phase, the box was unearthed. It was thrown on a refuge pile during the sifting process, and it gave out a metallic ring as it struck a rock. A maintenance man noticed the unusual noise and discovered it. He examined the contents, but was unable to determine its use. The box represented a problem that the maintenance man couldn't cope with. In such cases, the area's master controller is consulted. The area's newly installed decision maker decided the box and its unknown contents should be taken to the World Anthropological Institute for examination. At the institute, the box's age was determined by checking the molecular deterioration of the metal. The box, dated at 2,000 years, was sent to the office of the expert for that particular time period. The contents quickly recognized as a letter tape. The age corresponded to that of the box. A letter tape was a household item of that time. To play the tape, a letter player was brought from the vault of the institution. The room is small and circular. It has neither furniture nor windows. An electronic brain from floor to ceiling hides the entire wall area. The maintenance man stands silently in the center of the room. Suddenly, a slight hum can be heard from the machine as the delicate mechanisms begin. The machine's sonic tone voice speaks, "Bring the contents of the pneumatic tube into this room. Its location is outside the door, 3 feet left on the north wall." The man follows his instructions. He returns carrying the ancient letter player. The player fits comfortably in his hand. It is rectangular in shape and made of a bright synthetic metal. It has a speaker 1/2 of its area. The rest contains an amplifier and receptors. The brain speaks again, directing the loading and playing of the letter player. Later, the maintenance man is in another room, seated, his head encased in a helmet, connected to a large machine. He pulls a switch on the arm of the chair and tells everything he knows about the box and its contents. Finished, he returns the switch to the off position, shrugs his head, and wonders what he just said. The machine's lifeless voice instructs him to return home. Report to Mindovac 67. A box found in a construction site the 143rd day of this year contained a letter dated and authenticated to be 2017 years old. It was found by a maintenance man at a building site in the new city of Chag-F. The contents were recognized after examination, and a device used to communicate this type of letter was promptly sent for. Although the box's discoverer heard the playing of this letter, no difficulty will arise since his mind was immediately erased of the entire incident. The tape's condition was excellent. The audio was comprehensive, and the language variation of 2,000 years easily translated by my word derivation section. The tape itself was a bitter attack on your earliest predecessor, Mindovac 1. The author claims to be John Bell, C4, scientist, inventor, and advisor to the then world leader. The attitude of the letter suggests that Bell was connected with the thought revolt of 2137. The following translation is as concise as my components allow. Here is the letter. I invented a machine that will construct organized thought in man. This machine will revolutionize the entire population's way of thinking. Its principles are simple. By electrocauterizing the memory-retaining cells of the brain, any subject or thought can be etched in the brain. The cauterizing is done by a laser ray. My machine also has a reverse process which can erase thoughts as easily as it makes them. This will provide an easy way to destroy an unwanted memory or phobia. I'm sure that the treatment of mental illness will be radically changed for the better because of my invention. The reverse process works by finding the location of the memory cells as the subject thinks about the distasteful idea. This is done by finding the source of the brain waves. The laser destroys these memory cells without injuring any of the other cells in the brain. The presentation of this invention to the world leader brought about my appointment, head scientist, advisor to the WL. Naturally, I expected my invention to be acclaimed immediately. This did not happen. At first, the world leader was enthusiastic, as I expected him to be. We had a private lunch and discussed the uses and expectations of my invention. He told me he would announce my invention to the world the next day and present me the Medal of Gratitude on worldwide television. However, I received a call from him that evening informing me that the announcement would be delayed temporarily. I asked him why. He replied that he consulted his electronic brain, Mindovac, and was advised to be silent about my invention for the time being. He told me not to worry, that my invention would be okay, and put to work shortly. For consolation, he appointed me to be chief scientist advisor to him. I thanked him and asked him why he submitted my invention to an electronic brain. He replied that Mindovac was the most knowledgeable analytical mind ever built, that he consulted it on all his decisions, and he couldn't see how anyone could question the decision of the world's largest cybernetic device. As the scientific advisor to the world leader, I became one of his closest associates and saw a great deal of him. At the official state meetings, I was shocked to see that his participation was practically nil. Sometimes he was absent from entire meetings, and when attending, he seemed dazed. Many times he sat through a meeting without uttering a word. All discussions were presided over by the advisor of modernization, who more or less ran the meetings. I asked the advisor of commerce about the leader's strange behavior. He replied that the world leader had been behaving strangely for the last 2 years. He said that it was his and the rest of the advisors' opinions that the world leader was under the influence of some sensory drug. My own observations soon led me to the same conclusions. Many times I noticed that the WL appeared in a trance or even incoherent. The advisors carried on as if nothing unusual had happened. It seemed that the world leader relied entirely on them and Mindovac to do his work and make his policies. This is not to say he is under the influence of sensory drugs all the time. There is certainly no doubt that he delivers his speeches, written by Mindovac, well. During our first interview, he gave the appearance of complete normalcy, and also in many subsequent meetings, his concentration couldn't be questioned. However, many times I've seen him oblivious to everything around him. I have no doubt that he is incapacitated by drugs much of the time. This is not the only thing bothering me. The WL's constant reliance on the electronic brain has caused me to review some of the recent governmental orders. My check has uncovered some very strange allocations direct from his office. For instance, 3,000 machines designated with the title Type X have been distributed throughout the earth in strategic locations. I've done extensive research to find the purpose of the X machine, but all my inquiries have been met with the utmost secrecy. As you know, my position in the government is one of the highest, but the seemingly routine information has been denied to me. I've noticed other strange requisitions. These did not have the concealment I encountered with the X machine, but their use is contrary to government policy or lacking any apparent benefit for mankind. For instance, a request was sent to the research laboratory of the Human Parts Plant 35 for an immediate investigation of the chemical energy and its potential contained in the average human body. Another strange order cut production of new beings by 10% of capacity for the last half year. Recently, an order was sent to reduce production to 8%. The order that bothered me most was the curtailment of a matter disintegrating weapon. As you know, the deeper we probe into space, the chance that we encounter another race increases. History cries out, alien groups usually war upon meeting, the stronger subjugating the weaker or destroying them completely. I am sure the time is near when modern weapons will be needed. These orders, obviously at the request of Mindovac, have caused me a great deal of thought. Unfortunately, my conclusions are very depressing. I know for certain the President began to slow his reliance on sensory drugs approximately the same time a Future Perspective edition was completed on Mindovac. Right now, the entire population is relying on a machine that thinks with complete reason. Complete trust in reason sounds good, but think this over. Automated production directed by cybernetic devices allows machines to reproduce other machines. With the addition of Future Perspective, they have gained the capacity for improving their kind without human assistance. It's easy to see they won't need us for their functioning, and in the case of problems, it is man who creates his own trouble. What would be more reasonable than destroying the source of all the trouble? The X machine could be some sort of death provider ready to function when Mindovac decides the time is right. The chemical testing of the human body may be to find a way to annihilate humans by activating body chemicals into poisons. The X machine may be the detonator if my first conclusion is correct. Canceling the creation of a weapon as powerful as a matter disintegration ray could only be the decision of a machine that functions like Mindovac. Remember, machines have no need of weapons. They gain nothing by controlling more territory or influencing minds or possessing power. Besides, they have no fears since they lack personality, emotion, or feel pain. I must find out if the conclusions are correct. Tomorrow, I have an appointment to lunch with the world leader in his office. I intend to start him on a sensory binge earlier than he's planning, inserting a peel in his drink. Mindovac's location is adjoined to his office. It will be easy for me to confront it. I have programmed a card with my accusations, asking if they are true. If Mindovac answers in the affirmative, and it must tell the truth, machines don't lie, I'll destroy the whole apparatus with some explosives I'm bringing for the occasion. If I'm wrong, nothing is lost. However, if you don't hear from me in a reasonable time, inform the proper people of this tape. Your friend, John Bell, C4. The records have been checked to verify this tape. They show the outcome of Bell's escapade led to his death. It seems the first part of his plan succeeded, and he obtained an answer from Mindovac. But the answer cost him his life. The reply to his question was given in a sonic tone high enough to shatter his nervous system. History reveals that Bell's accusations were almost entirely wrong. The X-machine that he was so apprehensive about was really his own invention, although it wasn't used as he intended. Bell's mind machine gave the population uniform thinking. As for the curtailment in the birth production, the obvious explanation was ignored. It was just what it seemed, a population cut. Evidently, Bell didn't notice how fast 4 billion people used up natural and synthetic resources. The planned reduction in births led to the Earth's steady population of 100 million, which has been traditional since Mindovac 1 set the level. The need for weapons has long since passed. Had Bell reasoned correctly, he would have foreseen that any advanced society would be led by mechanical brains, and as he said, machines would never conduct wars. It may be reasonably concluded that this tape probably incited the thought revolt of 2137, whose protagonists were quickly cured of their subversiveness by Bell's contribution to technology. The report is completed. Electronic waves transfer it to a dispatching room where it is relayed to Mindovac 67's frequency and sent into the electronic colossus. This is the day for fueling the power supply in the reasoned society. Under each building housing mechanical residents, the power source is fueled for the year. Men are very useful for regular jobs like this. They feed the nuclear piles with the cheapest fuel available. It's contained in neat lead-foiled packages. They never notice that the fuel resembles parts of the human anatomy.